Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Innal hamdulillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayh. Wa na'udzu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lah wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lah. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Inshallah, we will begin about knowing what is Khushuu. We'll continue with this. What is Khushuu in the true sense of the word? In the previous presentation, we began with why we work and the risks that we take when we don't perform what the boss expects from us. Why is it that most of us are afraid of the consequences we face in our jobs or our responsibilities in this world, especially nowadays, the type of panic that is coming amongst us? Because we are afraid of the consequences, be it our job or other worldly responsibilities and any other commitments that we have. So what comes to our mind? If I don't do this, if I don't attend to this, if. The reason is we see the results immediately or within a very short period of time. Next slide, please. Now, we are aware and we also accept the facts that we are going to die one day. Someday or the other, we are going to die. But our attitude towards life is as if death is still far away. So I may as well relax. Supposing you made a mistake and your boss tells you that he will take action against you for this mistake, not immediately, but when you retire. How would you view this? You would console yourself and say, as long as it's not immediate, baad mein dekha jayega. Let me not worry at this moment. There is still a very long time for me to retire. But when Allah tells you that you will be judged and you will face the consequences, it's either the reward or the punishment the moment you die. How will you react? Knowing that your death can take place at any time, any moment, and any day. Next slide, please. So most of us live in this temporary world as if we are going to live here forever. And we think that death is still far, far, far away. We live as if we are not going to die, but when we die, we feel that we have not lived at all. This is the attitude that we have. So the whole universe belongs to your Rabb, including this world that we are living in. How does Allah view this world? You understand? How does Allah view this world? The Prophet tells us that to Allah, the world is not worth even one wing of a fly. Can you imagine? In the sight of Allah, this world that we look at so big and so attractive and so much materialistic, for Allah, it is not even worth one wing of the fly. So why are you valuing the world so much more and it isn't even yours? Not even a single atom of this world belongs to us, because when we leave this world, we do not take any single atom from this world. Next slide, please. So, but on the other hand, just look at what status Allah has given us. Ashraful Makhlukhat, as I have explained in the earlier presentations. We've been honored, we've been given dignity, we've been given the highest status among all creation. Why are we clinging to the world which Allah Himself considers worthless? May Allah help us to realize the greatness He has given to us and the uselessness that He has given to the things that we try to cling upon. Ameen. So Allah tells us, بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى. But you prefer the worldly life while the hereafter is better and more enduring. Look at the word, more enduring, longer lasting than what you're going to face in the dunya. Next slide, please. As Muslims, we know that that day will be our permanent and everlasting life when it will start from that particular day. So we as Muslims know that we will face the consequences of how we lived our life in the dunya, the consequence of what we earned in the temporary dunya. The final destination will either be Jannah, may Allah make us among them, a place of permanent reward and bliss, or Naudhu Billah, Jahannam, the hellfire, a place of permanent pain, punishment, misery, and humility. While in the world the choice is ours as to what destination we want, we have to be careful as to what we choose. Now, two things control our lives: the time horizon of anything that you do, and whether it is limited or unlimited, and the level of goodness that you find in what you're doing. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. So aim for what is best and what lasts forever. If you think these two things in Salah, it will naturally help you to have a better focus in your Salah. What is wrong with us? Why do we find, why do we not find that peace while we are doing the Salah? You know, addressing a few questions that keeps in our mind most of the time. Why is it that I'm doing the Salah, but I'm not able to enjoy it? Now, there are a few reasons which we are coming into this one. So, most of us, what do? We consider Salah as a bunch of rituals. Our parents, our grandparents, their parents did it, so we are doing it. If so, your approach is nothing different from what the Quraysh said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Please note, Salah is not a ritual. None of the acts of ibadah in Islam are rituals. Please understand this. Next slide, please. So we think that Salah is a burden. For us, it is something that we want to get over as fast as possible. I have to do this. I don't have time. So I may as well go over it as fast as I can and get back to what I'm doing. For me, Salah is a burden that then something we would love to crave to do. What we love to crave to do for the dunya is more important to us than what we try for the Salah. The next is we consider ourselves born Muslims, but most of us don't know what Islam is. It's very sad to say. Like we are born with the golden spoon in our mouth. That's all. Many Muslims, the next point, many Muslims, especially the youngsters, and also those who are new to Islam, they also find it very difficult. But if you look at their struggles and their efforts to achieve closeness to Allah, is something to be seen, subhanallah. Something to be seen, really. Unfortunately, they do not have a strong enough platform which can help them with a personalized approach initially for them to grasp the beauty of Salah. This is something very unfortunate that we observe. Even the youngsters, when they want to learn something about Islam, something about Salah, they are not given the personalized approach. So they are not able to really grasp it the way it should be. Institutions are not able to concentrate on them individually, as a result of which they miss out quite a lot. For example, they are asked to recite the kalima, the shahada, and the surahs. They are told about the pillars of Islam, etc. There are 6 pillars without mentioning their significance and the role that these pillars play in our lives. This is how we train them to be practicing Muslims without taking the responsibility of helping them to develop the spirit and love for what they do to please Allah only. This has unfortunately been my personal experience while counseling many of the youth and some elders also. So, next slide, please. Now, look at our education system. Now, have we ever, as parents or teachers, ever told children about Islam in a meaningful way? Are we ever telling them in a way that they will be able to understand and show interest? Have we told them the benefits of Salah? Why do we take it for granted that children are not capable of understanding or getting involved? At the same time, when you send them to school, the LKG or the UKG, do you ever see how fast they improve on that? Why are we making this? Without making them understand, without making them appreciate what they are doing, we force them to do things. And then what do? We start threatening them and we start beating them. We proudly mention the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that we can beat our children without even bothering to understand the concept and the ruling that the Prophet ﷺ gave to us. And unfortunately, we as parents, we ourselves don't know much about the Salah. So what are we going to teach them? Able to understand and practice what the things are being taught in school, here it's impossible for them because of the approach that we make. Imagine these young people who grow up, and if this is the way we initially inculcate performing the Salah to them, how do you expect them to love and enjoy what they are doing? How do we benefit ourselves and also make them benefit spiritually on this? If we go to the madrasas, the way the children are being taught, unfortunately, I had the occasion of going to some of the madrasas. When the children are entering into the mosque, you find the main boy there who's the chief of that, plus the person in charge of the madrasa entering with sticks. And it's a very sad plight to see they are being beaten to stand in line. They are being beaten to do this. How do you expect them to love what they are doing when the stick is always behind them? There's an incident that has taken place. A child is being asked to do sajda. And while the child is doing sajda, the teacher starts beating the child. Can you imagine the plight of that child? Would the child want to do sajda again? Or will it do sajda with the love, with the understanding that it has? It will do sajda because the only thinking, if I don't do sajda, I'm going to be beaten. It's really very sad. Can we have the next slide, please? So our tendency towards our children is we only want to give them education for the dunya. I want my child to become this. I want my child to become that. So send him to school, whether he can understand or not. But when he comes back home, he always gets something. Then later, we get upset at the child when it is asked to learn about Islam. For example, when we ask the child, why do I have to wake up so early in the morning for Salah? What is your reply? If the child says, why can't I do it at another time? What do we say? Because you have to. Do you think this is going to motivate the child when the child grows up? It's really difficult for us to make the child to do something if this is the way we're going to approach the child. When they ask questions about Islam, see, that's a slide, please. Once the child grows up, you begin to complain to others. Oh, see, my child is not doing Salah. My child is not doing this. My child is so bad. You make dua for my child. You ask Allah to give hidayah to my child. If you're doing this, you are the first culprit. You are the first culprit. Again, while in school, children are encouraged to ask questions. And they are given answers, they are given details about that one, they are encouraged to learn. But when we ask any questions, we don't answer them. We say, no, you're supposed to do this. Don't you dare ask any questions. Unfortunately, we don't realize that Islam is the only religion that encourages questions. And unfortunately, most Muslims are the ones who discourage questions. What can you expect from your child? Please ask yourself this question. Because, next slide, the sad part is we ourselves don't know the answers. Well, how do we react? You know that Hazrat that comes to teach you Arabic, you ask him. He will tell you the answers. That Hazrat comes there only for a few minutes because he has to go to many other places. For the salary that the amount we pay to the Hazrat for teaching our child, he can't manage anything. So naturally, he has to go to many houses to earn his living in a proper manner. Does he have time to sit and explain to the child? Or does this teacher himself know much about Islam? Just because he's able to read Arabic does not mean to say that he can become a person who can teach Arabic only. He will not sit even a minute beyond the time that has been allotted because he's got other places to go. The parents are more concerned about the children becoming engineers, doctors, IT professionals, etc. Why? To earn money. The parents' concentration in the children is for their dunya. Parents are encouraging them to worldly life and not the akhirah. They are not balancing it. I'm not saying forget the Islamic life. It has to be balanced. Then why do you blame the children that they do not offer salah? You understand? Now, let me ask another question. When we have any problems, we do not want to go to and consult our parents because they will get to know our personal issues. You understand? They'll get to know our personal issues. Or, so what do? They consult their friends. And they say, my friend knows me better. Just see the next slide. My friend knows me better. My relatives are better. Or the parents themselves say, go to a counselor, go to a psychiatrist. When all this does not work out, then we think about dua and our salah. Look at the steps that we take. How many have first turned to Allah through salah for all these things? It's sad. It's very sad. Now, if you go to Surah Baqarah, Surah number 2, Ayah 43, and perform a salah and give zakat and do ruku along with those who do the ruku. Submit. Be along with the raki'een, the ones who do ruku, the ones who perform salah. Allah tells you who you should associate yourself with. Oh, you who believe, seek help in patience and as-salah. Subhanallah. Truly, Allah is with the sabirin. Here's the solution to your problems. One is patience, the other is your salah. Your sincere salah, of course. Look at the smallest surah in the Quran, Surah Al-Kawthar. When the Prophet ﷺ was sad, when he had lost his loved ones, and his own relatives were ill-treating him, and the way people were trying to become more of his enemies and keeping on taunting him, what did Allah say? He did not say, don't bother, I'll give you the best in the dunya. I will make you a king. I will do this for you. Allah first told the Prophet, I am going to give you a gift, the greatest gift ever, Al-Kawthar. But Allah at that time did not give any assurance for the dunya. Can you imagine this? So he did not give any assurance for the dunya, but for the dunya, what did Allah say? For Salih, perform salah. He says your solution to your difficulties in your dunya lies in your salah. How beautiful this is. How much we can learn from this. In fact, whenever the Prophet ﷺ faced a problem, he would offer salah first and then he would decide. This is the solution for me, for you, and for all of us. We don't know or we don't clearly understand that what we recite. Because what we do, we recite mechanically without any involvement. It is easy for our minds to get diverted at that time because our minds are not attached. Listen to this. Hazrat Abu Bakr Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu offered, whenever he offered the salah, he would cry. His salah was the best dawah than anyone's talks or anything else. Looking at him performing salah, many people accepted Islam. It was for this reason that the Quraysh stopped him from doing salah in public. They said, go to your own place and do salah. We don't want you to do your salah in public. He was to go somewhere else and perform. How many times has salah affected us, let alone someone else? Next reason is the lack of quality in our prayer. Many of us don't even want to realize it. In the previous session, we mentioned about the criticality of salah and that the salah is our vehicle towards Allah and towards Jannah. Imam Ghazali, he said that if you truly get yourself to believe in Allah, build up your relationship with Allah because it is everlasting and you know that salah is the vehicle to your relationship with Allah. You could never think of anything else during salah except that you are dealing with the source who can do anything for you. He owns everything and everything comes from him. Why do we miss this point? The next slide, please. Be sure that there is a hereafter. Salah is the vehicle to your success to the akhirah. So what is our duty? Maintain that vehicle very well. Imagine the one who does not perform salah. It means he or she has abandoned that mode of travel towards Jannah. Imagine the one who does not perform salah. She has abandoned the vehicle. How are we going to maintain this vehicle? You understand? The person does it only as a ritual. The vehicle is not maintained well. It will break down. What is a guarantee that it will take the person to the destination? So how are we going to maintain that vehicle? How do we ensure that salah will help us to build our relationship with Allah, which will ultimately take us to Him and to Jannah, inshallah? The tools that are required to maintain this salah is called Khushuu. So we will approach this in quite a different way when compared to the various books that have been written on Khushuu. There's another question. Have you ever experienced being in love with someone? Someone who is truly in love? Yes, the movies that you see and what you see in front of yourself, the novels that you read give only a very vague idea. Do you think you will be able to have the proper conversation with the one whom you love? No. Even if you're able to converse with the one whom you love, you will not succeed much because whatever you may talk, it will always gravitate towards the one whom you love. You may want to talk about somebody else, but again, it will come back to the one whom you love. That is the concentration that you have. Even if you're able to converse, you will not succeed. Now, look at a mother to a child, a spouse to his or her spouse, anything that they love, games, cars, this person somehow brings the conversation back to what they love, which is known as extreme focus. So if you were to see them, how do they look? The whole faculties are in one particular direction. The next slide, please. Their whole faculties are in one particular direction. Even in the absence of the person, the mind and attitude, the behavior will be as if the person is right next to you, right in front of you. You understand? This is Khushuu. This is devotion. This is connection. That is where the heart is. That's where Khushuu is. You see, that's what we should have with Allah, who has called us Ashraful Makhluqat. In fact, better than that. Be in love with Allah. Whatever you love, whatever you're attached to, will be on our mind always. Try it and see. Please, take this as a general rule. Write it down. I love Allah. Hang it up on your walls. I love Allah. I want to know Allah. And see the change that comes to you. In your previous prayers, what was in your mind when you prayed? Don't tell me that. Just realize in your previous prayer, you must have done your previous prayer on Maghrib or so. What did you feel? What was in your mind? You're thinking of people, you're thinking of business, you're thinking of people whom you love, you're thinking of the ones that they love, you're thinking of the project that I have, you're thinking of the job that is there. You're thinking, if it's students, they keep thinking of their assignments, their next online classes. The mothers will be thinking what to cook for the next meal. Some will think, have I put enough salt in that particular thing? Or I have to go and get some groceries. See all the thoughts that come. All these keep playing in our mind. You understand? So you have to be careful. Now, you never love through your mind. Understand that. You love through your heart. Now, I want to give a small example. It's not a small example, but something to show the connection. It's an example, next slide, please. It's an example of a mother who could not read or write. Her son was far away. He used to send letters to her, and she used to take the letter and hold it close to her heart, though she could not read it. First, she would attach it to her heart, and later she would pass her eyes over the letter. Then she would kiss the letter. She would run to the neighbor and request the neighbor to please read the letter for her. As the neighbor reads the letter, both she and the mother start crying. This went on for some time. Unfortunately, when another letter came, the neighbor was not there. The neighbor had gone to another place. And there was no one to read this letter. She did not want to depend on anyone at that age. So what did she do? She decided to learn to read and write at that age. Why? This was only because of her attachment to her son. Can you imagine the effect it had on her? This is the same when we are relating to Allah. Now, I want to ask you another question. How often do we read the letters of Allah? Your attachment is based on how often you read, understand, and you ponder over the Quran, because the Quran is sent by the one who loves you the most, and Allah is talking to you. If it is not Allah, please recheck your heart. How do we love Allah? Supposing I tell you there is a person by name Nadeem who lives in Mysore. Do you love Nadeem? Do you hate Nadeem? If so, why? If not, why? You'll think I'm crazy to ask you this question. But then I'm telling you, yes, I love him. How would you reply? You would say, how do I love someone whom I don't know at all? You're talking of somebody that whom you love. Why are you talking about a person whom I don't know? There must be some good qualities in that person which I don't know. So now we will try to find out that how you develop that love for Allah. The only way you can love Allah is by knowing Allah, by knowing Allah's love for you. With this, we will stop for part one of this session, and we will continue in the next part, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.